السلام عليكم. لا تنسوا الاعجاب بالفيديو والاشتراك في القناة تشجيعا لنا لنستمر بنشر المزيد إن شاء الله.
They charge a wide variety of battery chemistries and sizes. The Xtar VC4S has a quick charge 3.0 input that allows for a maximum of 3 amp charging on one bay, and the ability to do capacity testing, resistance testing while charging, and store in a storage mode. Thanks to Xtar for sending this to me to take a look at. Boxes, white box here. You've got a picture of the charger on the front. Different languages of kind of some specs. With are pretty basic. You obviously get the charger itself. Then you get a cable here, which is a nice high quality cable. Is branded Xtar, and it is QC3 compatible. And then you get this kind of leathery bag to put everything in and keep the dust off, as well as a manual here. So just a little bit of comparison. Well, charger, it's solid in the hand. There's no creaking or cracking. The plastic is molded well. There's no issues there. On the top, as I mentioned before, it's got that micro USB input for Quick Charge 3.0. Labeled as such, no outputs. On the bottom, you've got venting on the sides as well. Then in the back here, you've got a placard that is just ever so finely molded in place there. All the different chemistries and battery sizes, inputs and outputs, all the information you need to know, as well as your serial number placard. If I take a few of these batteries out here, you can see these have 4 places for batteries. These are all spring-loaded, and they're nice and smooth. Some of the other chargers I've tested over time haven't been this smooth, so that's kind of nice. You got 2 buttons here as well, and you can put most common sized batteries will fit here. So I've got a 21700 here. This is an unprotected cell, and that's as basically as long as you can go here. It really doesn't move any more than that. The 2 outside slots are designed for larger cells. You can put 2 big cells beside each other, but then it really doesn't leave room for a smaller cell. 2 18650s are really designed to fit in the middle here, no problem. And the outside are 2 larger cells. The screen here, as you can see, is 75 millimeters by 32 millimeters with a white and blue text on a black background. It's pretty clear and reasonably bright with a backlight that does dim after a minute or so. And I'll try and keep pressing that here so it stays alive. You can see there it is lit up. To just explain the display here, I've got 1 cell charging right now. You've got the voltage on the outside, 3/4, and you've got the charging speed down here in the bottom corner. You've got capacity and battery chemistry there. It will say done when it's fully charged or full, and that's kind of nice. Then along the top here, you've got the different modes you're in. So that below the screen here, there are 2 buttons here. On the left, between slot 1 and 2, you've got the display button, and this changes what the display is showing during modes. If you press it, default is capacity, which is charging. You press it again, it shows your current, and then you press it again and you get the resistance. So this battery that I'm charging right now has a resistance of 15 milliamps. On the button to the right, between slot 3 and 4 here, you have the mode button, and it goes between grading and storage, and I'll go more into those here in a minute. I did take this charger apart, and I'll put a few pictures up and here what I found inside. I didn't see anything that concerned me, but if you see something worth mentioning, please make sure you comment about it below. So as I mentioned, the Xtar VC4S is capable of charging lithium-ion, IMR, INR, and ICR batteries, as well as nickel metal hydride. And we have reverse polarity protection. If I flip this 26650 around here, we can see what reverse polarity looks like. It immediately tells error and won't charge. I measured lithium-ion termination voltage at 4.161 volts and nickel metal hydride termination at 1.422 volts. So both within pretty good spec. So speed is not something you can manually configure on this charger with a button, but there are some things you can do to influence speed. So first off, this charger is capable of charging up to 3 amps on one bay. So to do that, first I need to be plugged into a Quick Charge 3.0 power source, and today I'm using my Xtar EU4 that I reviewed previously. The second thing you need to do to use that full speed charging is to have only 1 battery plugged in, and it needs to be large enough, and the battery needs to test with a low enough resistance. So this 21700 that I'm using does. So as you can see there, it's charging at a full 3 amps. And while I've got not many batteries in here, let's talk about one of the negatives here. This seems to want to charge one nickel metal hydride at that 3 amps as well, which for me, that's too fast. But there are things you can do to reduce that. So as I put in more batteries, the charger will slow down. So I've got 2 batteries plugged in here, and it says they're both charging at 2 amps. I can plug in a third, and we bump down to 1 amp. And if I plug in the fourth, we can see here, let's make sure it gets going, it's also charging at 1 amp. I did observe 4 in-loops charging all at 1 amp piece when they're about half full. And the charger does have different speeds for different bays, half an amp, 1, 2, and 3 amps. While Quick Charge 3.0 is not required, I'd strongly recommend it with this charger so you can take advantage of the speed that it offers. If you have a Quick Charge 2.0 charger, you can only expect about 2 amps maximum. The Xtar VC4 also has the ability to test capacity of cells, and that's the grading mode here that you see. And what that does is it fully charges the cells, then fully discharges them to a voltage they don't publish and I wasn't able to really determine, and then charges them back up, all while counting the amount of power that went in and out of the cell, and gives you a number. So I compared it to my ISD C4 charger, which also has a capacity test, and on the C4 I used a Samsung 30Q battery, and it tested at 2,788 milliamp hours, and then the VC4 tested at 2,763 milliamp hours, so very close. I did the same test with an in-loop and got 1,906 milliamp hours versus 2,109 milliamp hours, so a bit more difference there in the testing between the 2 different chargers. You also have the ability to test storage mode here. And what this does is lithium-ion batteries, ideally if you're going to charge them and store them for a long time, they shouldn't be at 100%. They should be at somewhere around that 60 to 80% mark. So what this charger does is it brings your batteries in line to that ideal perfect voltage. So you can see here it says it's charging this 21700 because it's too low. It's discharging this nickel metal hydride because it's too high, as is this 18650 and 26650. So it's just evening them all out to the ideal perfect voltage. And I tested this again with my Samsung 32 battery, and brought the lithium-ion battery down to 3.67 volts. And you can do this on all 4 cells at one time. You can also do this on nickel metal hydride batteries, but there isn't as much reason to do this. So lastly, you've also got the ability to test resistance of your cells. That's kind of a nice thing to do. Gives you a little bit more information about what's going on. You can see that 21700 is my newest battery here at Bunch, and it's the lowest resistance. So the pros are, it's nice to see chargers start to use Quick Charge 3 for power input. I like that the additional features here allow you to do capacity tests, storage, as well as measure cells resistance. I like that you've got a wide variety of battery support sizes, 3, QC2, just 2 amp. What's going on there? Maybe they want to get really crazy amperage and voltage of the inputting source. This is using micro USB for power connection versus USB-C. Again, I'm just going to harp on everything that's using micro USB these days. USB-C should be the connector of choice. It's a little bit too fast for my taste for charging one nickel metal hydride battery at 3 amps, although it's easy enough to reduce that if you put in any other battery. And there's no manual way to control charging speed. The charger is generally pretty conservative, so the only place I found that was a problem was those little bit larger nickel metal hydride batteries. So my conclusion is the Xtar VC4S is a nice affordable upgrade over the VC4 that I originally had. The original VC4 was my main charger for a long time because it was dead simple. I liked the display and how reliable it was. But as time went on, it just was a bit slow, especially when charging 4 cells at once. The VC4S improves these issues by adding QC3, allowing higher voltages and faster charging. By modern standards, this still isn't a super fast charger, but I typically don't like to charge batteries it's that fast, and it's actually usually better to charge them slower. I like the added features of testing capacity and measure resistance during my charging cycles. These are things I'll use as I test batteries down the road. I'm a little disappointed to see USB-C not make a difference here and give this thing a real power boost, but maybe that'll be coming in a future model. Hint, hint, make sure you're subscribed. Overall, this is a good charger and one I'll keep using with my cells to keep them full. I recommend it as long as you make sure you have a quick charge 3.0 power source.